On June 20th, 2001, Houston police received a 911 call. The call was vague, yet the police arrived at the door of Andrea Yates.
What's your name? Andrea Yates. What's the problem? I just need him to come. Is your husband there? No. Well, what's the problem? I need him to come. I need to know why we're coming, ma'am. Is he there standing next to you? She? Are you having disturbance? Are you ill or what? Yes, I'm ill. You need an ambulance? No, I need a police officer. You have sent an ambulance.
When police asked her what was the problem, she replied, "I killed my children." After calling 911, she also called her husband Rusty, who worked at NASA. She told him to come home. When he said, "Is anything wrong?" she said yes, with the kids. He asked how many. She replied, "All of them." Following her confession, the police took her to the station.
After you drew the bathwater, what was your intent? What were you about to do?
And the children.
After interrogation was finished, they knew that this case was going to shock the entire nation for decades. Andrea led the police upstairs, where they discovered bodies of 5-year-old John, 3-year-old Luke, 2-year-old Paul, and 6-month-old baby Mary, laid down in the master bed, still soaking wet with the sheet placed over them. 7-year-old Noah was found face down in the bathtub. When taken into custody, Andrea gave a spine-chilling statement. She said, "If I didn't do it, they would be tormented by Satan." Andrea was given medications and psychiatric treatments after the incident. After calming down, she agreed to be interviewed by the psychiatrist.
What were you trying to accomplish then when you did take your children's lives?
Maybe in their innocent years, God would take them up.
God would take them up to be in heaven, is that what you mean? All right. And if you had not taken their lives, what did you think would happen to them?
I guess they would have continued stumbling.
And where would they end up?
Hell.
In hell. What sort of things did they do which showed you they weren't right?
Well, they weren't. They just did a lot of silly stuff and didn't obey.
Didn't obey you when you told them to do things. All right. You mentioned their manners before. Can you give me an example of their manners?
Just when Rusty's mom would visit, they would just not treat her well, call her names.
Be disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you concluded that they were not righteous, and you're a religious person, and explain to me what you meant by not being righteous.
Well, they didn't do things God likes.
The question now arises, what may have led this mother to take the lives of her own innocent children? Was she possessed by something, or was she just insane? Just the thought of killing not one, but 4 of one's own children, one by one drowning them without remorse, sends chills down the spine. Andrea Yates was born on 3rd July 1964 in Houston, Texas. She was raised as a Roman Catholic. All her life she was an overachiever. She was the captain of the swim team. She was a class valedictorian and an officer in the National Honor Society. She graduated from the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. She worked as a nurse at Houston's MD Anderson Cancer Center for 8 years. She quit when she married Rusty. Andrea and Rusty Yates were married in 1993 after dating for 5 years, and Rusty introduced Andrea to his preacher, Michael Peter Woronowski. Michael is an important character in the life of Andrea Yates. He deeply influenced Andrea and Rusty's marital life. Michael believed that married couples should have as many children as possible and encouraged the Yates to do just that. Andrea soon gave birth to their first child, Noah, in 1994, just a year after marriage. While Andrea stayed at home with children, Rusty went out to work. Rusty had very traditional beliefs, and those affirmed by Mike, that a wife should be in the home caring for children and the children should be homeschooled to keep them away from the temptations and influences. Andrea, being raised in the Catholic faith, was extremely particular about raising her children. She wanted to keep them pure forever. In 1999, Andrea became depressed, and she worried that she was not a good mother. She was frightened that she might hurt her children. On 16th, she called Rusty at work asking him to come home. He found her in the back of the bus, shaking uncontrollably and biting her fingers. Rusty was unable to calm her. He took her to Andrea's mother's house. The next day, Andrea told her mother that she had plans to take a nap. She locked herself in a room and continued to take 40 pills of antidepressants. She was found in time and rushed to the hospital where her life was saved. But this was the first red flag of many that her mental illness was in a dangerous decline. Andrea received psychiatric treatment and her family warned that she continued to be at a risk of self-harm. Rusty Yates continued to go work each day and wanted more children. Andrea continuously stopped taking her medications, worried that if she got pregnant, they would harm her child. The family was advised that having another child was very likely to make her condition considerably worse. The same year, Andrea had a nervous breakdown and once again tried to commit suicide. Once again, she was hospitalized and medicated to try and treat her for psychosis. After the birth of her fourth child, she became psychotic. She suffered from delusions and she felt that she loves her children, and yet, if she would not kill them, she is sentencing them to eternal damnation. That's why she had to kill them, so they can be safe in heaven. The doctors concluded that Andrea suffered from a rarest form of postpartum illness, postpartum psychosis. In the months prior to the murder, she was hospitalized. Rusty continued to go to work each day, knowing that his wife was struggling. On the morning of 20th June 2001, Rusty left for work as usual, and in the 1-hour period before the arrival of her mother-in-law, Andrea drowned all of her children. The trial began in 2002. It had the attention of the whole world. Yates' attorney argued that she was insane, giving the jury the task of deciding whether Yates knew the difference between right and wrong at the time of drowning her children. They decided that she did and found her guilty of capital murder. Although the prosecution was seeking the death penalty, the jury decided on life imprisonment. During this whole time, Russell Yates was supportive of his wife. He blamed her behavior on severe mental illness and also criticized her doctors for failing to properly treat her condition. In 2005, a Texas appeals court reversed the conviction and granted Yates a new trial after it was learned that the prosecution witness, Dr. Park Dates, a forensic psychiatrist, gave a false testimony that had influenced the jury. At this second trial, the jury agreed that Andrea Yates did not know right from wrong at the time of the murders due to severe mental illness, meeting the requirements of insanity plea under Texas law, as she was found not guilty by the reason of insanity. She was taken to the North Texas State Hospital in Vernon for treatment, where she remained for 2 years before being moved in 2007 to a low-security state mental hospital in Kerrville, where she still resides today. Rusty Yates filed for divorce in 2004 and has now remarried and has a new family. He still supports her and is pushing for her to be released at some point in future. He says that he had forgiven her for what she had did and he does not think that she is a danger to the society.